What's up, Net Soldiers? I'm the Alliance, and welcome back to another video, guys. So I just watched Star Wars: The Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 2, and it kind of finished up where we're finding where Echo is, and I'll get a little bit deeper into that. So I'm going to be talking about spoilers in this little review of the episode, so just so you know, you've been warned. Okay. Now, with that said, guys, this episode begins really interesting for me personally because right in the very beginning, it finishes up right where the last episode left off, pretty much, and we see Anakin and Rex. And Anakin is talking about he has to go do this thing. So I was thinking like, oh, maybe Anakin was going to talk to Ahsoka initially, and then it was Padme. So that was actually pretty cool to see them actually communicating. And this is interesting because it also goes into what we see in Episode 3 when Anakin is talking about the Outer Rim sieges. He is currently in the Outer Rim sieges. So I'm going to guess that we're not going to see Anakin and Padme talk this entire season because that would then link up with the beginning of Episode 3. Now, if you actually look at the animation in the video, you can see that it almost looks like Padme's got a little baby bump or something, but Anakin doesn't notice it. You know what I mean? He's got so much stuff on his mind that he's not even thinking about it. So that was interesting to kind of see them, talk like that, because it does kind of go hand in hand with what we see later on in Revenge of the Sith. So that was pretty cool. So the cool thing about Rex is that while he is an orthodox clone, he does think by the books, he does things by the numbers. In the end of the day, he has really, a little bit of Anakin's more emotional side has really connected with him and has truly turned him to the point where he can actually, he'll jeopardize an entire mission just to find one of his old friends. And I think that's something that is interesting to point to Rex as that way, because clones are, while they have their own mindset compared to droids, at the end of the day, they were programmed for war. So for Rex to actually be able to have that ability is interesting. So then after that happens, something even more interesting happens, in my opinion anyways. Rex is outside and Obi-Wan Kenobi shows up. He's like, hey, so what's going on? And then they make up a story. Anakin comes out and, plays it off. And then Obi-Wan says something that I was not expecting. And he says, I hope you said hi to Padme for me. And this changes a lot of stuff. Because we know that Obi-Wan knows that Anakin and Padme are friends. We know that they are cool. But this almost hints to the idea that Kenobi has always known they had something going on. And because he loves Anakin like this much, he just kind of, let that go. He kind of looked the other way so Anakin could have that relationship. Maybe it's something that had to do with him and Satine in the past. I don't know. But I thought that was a really interesting, little line to throw in there. And then Anakin looks back like, shut up. But thank you. I will next time. That's what he does. And it's interesting to see that. I do think that, the Clone Wars has really just flourished out these characters. You guys got to remember, for me, I'm only on Season 3 of the Clone Wars. I saw a couple other episodes, but when it comes down to it, I've only really seen up to Season 3. And of course, Season 6 and Season 7. So I haven't seen the extra stuff that goes into that. But for what I've seen so far, there definitely adds this whole new element to things that I just would have never seen when I was a kid. You guys gotta remember, when I saw Episode 3, that was back in 2005, before we had the Clone Wars and all that extra stuff. There was none of this extra, context to the story. There was no Rex, there was no Ahsoka, there was no extra information. There was no Satine, there was none of that, We just knew Obi-Wan from Episode 2, and then we saw Episode 3 Obi-Wan. And you can tell that they were friends, but you didn't really see the extra stuff that went into that situation. And Maul was still dead back then. It's weird to say that. But yeah, a lot of stuff has changed because of the Clone Wars. And you see all these new elements and these new things that were brought in to make the story more flourished. And I think that's interesting to do. So moving on from that beginning part, which was actually really interesting. I initially thought it was kind of a little campy, but that just the part with Obi-Wan realizing, acknowledging the fact that Anakin's got something, more than just that. I don't think he necessarily knows that they are together, but I think he knows that, they do really care about each other more than just friends. So it's interesting that happens the way it does. So with that, we move on to where they actually go and they assault the facility of Wat Tambor to go find Echo. So this whole type of situation, it is interesting because later on, the Bad Batch, they bring up the idea, and there's kind of like a little fight between the two groups. They bring up the idea to Rex, like, hey, maybe you're putting your own, want to find your friend over like our lives. You're putting everyone into. Sorry, My wife is down with my baby. My baby's being a little vocal right now, if you can hear that. So sorry about that. They put their lives on the line to find Echo, and we don't even know if Echo is actually alive. And it does raise the question: was Rex doing the right thing? Is it okay to put your morals over your duty? And I think that's an interesting concept to really take from this entire episode. Like I said, Rex was kind of an orthodox clone, but he also did do things not always by the books. However, at the end of the day, he would do his duty. And this is kind of like him trying to find one clone, and it's interesting to kind of to see that element. So the idea that is a friend worth putting more people in jeopardy, And to some would say, well, yeah, of course, but then to others they would say, no, you never sacrifice more men for one. The idea is also you don't leave any man behind. But at the end of the day, if you save one person by sacrificing 100. Where's the value there? It doesn't really equal up. So I understand the whole dynamic they introduced into that episode. I think that was really good. So it was also really cool to see the Bad Batch guys. When it comes to the Bad Batch, I said this in the last review. Honestly, guys, I want the Bad Batch to have their own show. I don't care if it is a prequel to this. We can call it just the Bad Batch. Star Wars, the Bad Batch. And then we just see what they were doing through all the Clone Wars. That'd be pretty dope. They could even run into other clones. They could run into other Jedi in the story as well. We could see more of that. I don't know. They're just so cool. I like that they're dynamic. I like the fact that the leader, Ryder, he's like a dope dude. He's relaxed, but he also is caring. You know what I mean? He is hardcore, but he cares about his squad. And then of course you got Bruiser, and he's probably my favorite. He's so like wacky. And there's actually one point where like they're in the lift going up to the facility, and Anakin's like, "Remember, don't destroy anything. We're doing this stealthily." And as soon as the doors open, there's a bunch of droids just looking at them, and Bruiser's like, "Okay, we tried it your way." Bah, 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 just goes through, just destroys them, throws them off the edge. It's just such good comedy. I can detect that it is a little like some of the stuff is a little too Disney, I'd say. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but you can feel it. Like the jokes are more lighter, I'd say, especially if you compare them to like the later seasons of Clone Wars. Like season 6 jokes, they were more serious. There were the elements of joking, but like it started getting more serious as we got closer to the end of the war in Order 66. This one has more levity into it, which I'm not necessarily against, but I did notice it. It kind of feels like they went back to season 1 or 2 for that type of humor. Like I said, not necessarily a bad thing, but it is something you notice, especially if you go from season 6, which was a very like more dour and sad season, to the beginning of season 7, which seems more like a little bit uplifting. I don't know really how to describe that, but that could be because Disney is in charge now, or I don't know, but I'm gonna guess that's probably part of the element of it. So after that, they land on this planet, and Anakin gets kidnapped, and there's something about the Clone Wars, I don't exactly know. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like they underpower Anakin a little bit. The earlier seasons, it was okay to underpower him because he was not a skilled Jet. He was just a prime. He just started in his Jedi Knight. He didn't get to his prime level yet, and we're talking almost Episode 3 Anakin. So pretty much anything he comes across shouldn't really be a challenge for him anymore, and I felt like when that pterodactyl thing picked him up and started flying with him, I was like, okay, so here's the thing. Anakin Episode 3 would have just force crushed this thing's leg and would have let him go. Even if he didn't have his lightsaber, he would have used the Force to like get himself, pulled off. And it makes me wonder, like, is this show really taking into account that idea? I understand the whole point is if you want to have a character come in and you're bringing in, when you're talking about Anakin Episode 3, you're talking about one of the strongest Jedi ever. I get that. So as soon as you put him into a situation, you have to pretty much handicap him. So that's why they took away his lightsaber, because in that way they kind of handicapped him. But he's so powerful in the Force by this point that shouldn't even be an issue. He should have figured out another way to get out of there. But in order to continue the conflict, they had to do that. So I get it. But it does kind of undermine who Anakin is in Episode 3 a little bit for me. I mean, like I said, this isn't that big of a deal. But it does kind of bother me when they do that. Especially when you see in the one later episode, I think like Season 3, when he, like, was it Season 3 or Season 4, where he takes on the Mortis kids by himself? It's just like, where is that Anakin? You know, when does that start to take place? And I don't know. I guess it depends. If he's more angry, I guess he wasn't super angry at the point, but I don't know. Maybe it kind of seemed like Anakin was depowered for that scene. I just want to see more ultimate power Anakin moments, and I think we're going to see more of those before the end of the season. But we just haven't seen that yet, so I'd like to see something of that episode 7. Now with that said, we move on to the Wat Tambor Citadel. We go up top and we eventually find Echo. And I think that's an interesting concept to have him actually like all beat up. Like his legs are missing. He has robotic legs now. He's like a little like tendril arm that's like a little like pinchers or something like that. He is messed up. He's messed up. I don't actually foresee him living any further this next episode. I'm gonna guess maybe they're going to have to, you know, transport him back to the base, and that's when the Separatists get involved, and Echo's gonna die on the way. There's also a part of me that thinks like when they bring Echo for getting fixed up, I guess that's when they're gonna find the inhibitor chip and realize that's gonna lead to Rex getting his out or something along those lines. So we're definitely gonna see something happen in that type of front, because so far Rex hasn't gotten his inhibitor chip out, and we know that Gregor and Wolf got theirs out too. So I'm going to guess that at some point in the season Rex is going to get his out. We might see it happen, or we might see, I'm going to guess they're going to show it, but they're not actually going to show his surgery, of course, but he's going to say I took it out, you know. Or he's going to get it out, and then he's going to come across Gregor and Wolf, and then he's going to take out theirs. Or he's going to knock him out and then get theirs taken out, so then he could save them at least. I don't know. And then he'll probably try to save Cody, but that won't go down right. I don't know. It's going to be a rough situation, because this is leading into like right at the end of episode 3. Or I should say, near the middle of episode 3, Order 66 happens. So right now we're at a more optimistic point, but very soon we're going to be getting into that more sad and anger-filled stuff. So I'm really excited to see how this season goes, because like the creator said, and as we saw from the trailers, you know, season 7 takes place before episode 3 and after episode 3. So or actually during episode 3. So I'm really excited to see what happens with that. So yeah, that is my review for the episode 2. I'm super excited for episode 3. Like I said, I think this next arc is probably going to end with Echo's death and Rex discovering the inhibitor chip has more sinister plans for him in the future. Maybe not that soon, but I feel like maybe it is. I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see. But thanks again for watching, guys. If you want to see more videos from me, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn notifications for more. I'm going to be doing more reviews on all the Clone Wars episodes. I'm actually going to be starting up my Star Wars The Clone Wars Explained episode, so if you actually haven't watched the Clone Wars Explained yet, I actually have done part 1, 2, and 3, which is pretty much season 1, 2, and a little bit of 3, and then I'm going to be continuing that. So pretty soon I'll eventually have all, you know, the entire series explained, but yeah, that's the plan of it. But thanks again for watching, guys. I'll catch you later. Peace.